Okay, so you guys sent in this pretty interesting set of practice questions for like the HPE 7-A10 exam.
Hmm.
It's all about Aruba networking,
Yeah.
but we're gonna do a bit of a deep dive.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
really focus on like passing the exam, although
Right.
you could probably get some
That's a nice bonus.
yeah, a little bonus there. But
Wow.
really, it's about the concepts behind the questions, right?
Absolutely. It's about using those questions as a jumping off point
Yeah.
to explore the broader principles of how Aruba networks are designed and managed.
Yeah, like access control,
Right.
high availability.
Yeah, security, performance optimization,
Yeah, it's
all the things that go into a really solid network infrastructure.
yeah. So let's dive into it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the first question here is all about access control, specifically role-based access control, which is often shortened to RBAC.
Right, yeah.
And the question asks, which of the following is the primary advantage of using Aruba's RDAC in a network environment?
Okay.
And we've got a few choices here.
Mm-hmm.
A, simplifies network traffic management.
Okay.
B, increases user authentication speed.
Uh-huh.
C, allows precise control of user access to network resources.
Okay.
And D, enhances wireless signal coverage.
Okay.
So of those,
Yeah.
which one do you think is the most accurate primary advantage?
Well, I think the most important aspect of RBAC is the ability to control precisely who has access to what resources on the network.
Okay, yeah.
So I would say the answer is C.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. C is the correct answer.
Excellent.
Allows precise control of user access to network resources.
Right.
And so can you maybe just kind of walk us through why that is such a fundamental advantage? Like, what does that precise control actually enable in a real-world network environment?
Sure, yeah. So with RBAC, you're basically shifting away from managing permissions for individual users, which can be a huge headache, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Especially as networks grow.
Right.
Instead, what you do is you define roles based on, like people's jobs,
Okay.
the departments they work in, or maybe like projects that they're working on,
Right.
whatever makes sense for your organization.
Yeah.
And then you attach specific permissions to those roles.
So it's like grouping people based on their needs and then just applying those permissions to the entire group rather than individually.
Exactly. So let's say you have a new employee who joins the marketing team.
Right.
Instead of manually granting them access to all the marketing resources they need, shared drives, applications, whatever it might be, you just assign them the marketing role.
And boom, they've got everything they need and nothing they don't.
Precisely.
So much more efficient.
Much more efficient, much more secure, because you're not accidentally giving someone access to something they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It really helps to minimize those risks.
And it's got to be better for compliance, right? Like if you have to prove who has access to what.
Oh, absolutely. You have a clear audit trail.
Yeah.
You can easily demonstrate that people only have the access they need based on their job function.
It's all right there.
Exactly.
So really strong benefits there. Now, why don't we look at why some of the other options weren't quite the best fit for the primary advantage of RBAC. So option A, simplifying network traffic management while having well-defined access might help a little with traffic flow. It's not really what RBAC is directly aimed at.
Right. Yeah. RBAC is primarily focused on controlling access to resources, not on the intricacies of how traffic moves through the network.
Right. That's more like quality of service.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
traffic shaping, which, we might get into later. Then there's option B, increasing user authentication speed. RBAC doesn't really affect how quickly someone can log in, does it?
No, not really. RBAC is about what happens after someone is authenticated.
Right, okay.
It's about determining what they can do once they're on the network.
Yeah, like what doors they can open, so to speak.
Exactly, yeah.
And then finally, option D, enhancing wireless signal coverage.
Right.
That's purely a physical infrastructure thing, right?
Yeah, it's all about the access points, their placement, their configuration.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with RBAC's logical access control.
Totally separate.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a really good look at RBAC and why it's such a crucial part of modern network security.
Absolutely.
Now let's switch gears a bit
Okay.
and talk about something that is absolutely essential for any network. High availability.
Right, keeping the network up and running.
Yeah, exactly. No one likes downtime.
No one.
So our next question is, in an Aruba network design, which methods can be used to ensure high availability and minimize service disruption in case of network failures? And it says select two.
Okay.
So we've got to pick two answers here.
Okay.
So our options are A, implementing a redundant Aruba mobility controller.
Right.
B, configuring multiple SSIDs for each access point.
Yeah.
C, deploying Aruba Airwave for centralized network management.
Mhm.
And D, enabling Aruba's dynamic frequency selection, or DFS, for access points.
Okay, so we're looking for two answers here.
Two answers that contribute the most to high availability.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, to me, the most obvious one is having a redundant mobility controller.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, think of it this way. The mobility controller is kind of like the brains of the operation for your wireless network, right?
Yeah, okay.
It handles the access points, enforces policies, and a whole bunch of other crucial stuff behind the scenes.
So if it goes down, you're in trouble.
Exactly. A big chunk of your wireless network could go offline.
No good.
Definitely not good. So, by having a redundant controller, you have a backup ready to take over if the primary one fails.
Like an understudy waiting in the wings.
Exactly. And this failover is designed to be super quick and seamless, so users might not even notice a blip.
That's the ideal situation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Minimal downtime, minimal disruption, everyone stays connected.
So A is definitely one of our correct answers.
I'd say so, yeah.
All right, so what about the other one? What else screams high availability to you?
Well, thinking about things that help prevent failures in the first place, I'd say deploying Aruba Airwave for centralized network management is a big one.
Okay, now at first glance, a management platform might not seem like a direct link to high availability.
Right.
So how does Airwave actually help with that?
Well, the key thing here is visibility and proactive monitoring. Airwave gives you this constant stream of information about the health and status of all your network devices.
Oh, I see. So you can spot problems before they become full-blown outages.
Exactly. If something starts acting up, Airwave will alert the admins so they can fix it before it causes a major disruption.
Like a canary in a coal mine.
Yeah, exactly. And beyond just monitoring, centralized management also makes things like configuration updates and troubleshooting much easier
Yeah.
and less prone to human error.
Which is always a good thing.
Always a good thing, especially when it comes to network uptime.
So A, redundant controller, and C, Airwave for centralized management.
Those are my picks.
And you would be absolutely correct.
Right.
So let's take a quick look at the other options, just to be thorough. Configuring multiple SSIDs for each access point. Now that's just about creating separate Wi-Fi networks from the same physical access point.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good way to segment users or traffic, but it
Right.
doesn't really add any redundancy to the network's core infrastructure.
Right. If the controller goes down, all those SSIDs go down with it.
Exactly. They're all still tied to that central point of control.
Got it.
Uh-huh.
And then dynamic frequency selection, or DFS.
Yeah, that's all about avoiding interference, right?
Exactly. It helps access points choose the best Wi-Fi channels to operate on, which is important for performance.
Yeah, it's crucial for a smooth wireless experience.
But it's not really about keeping the network online during a major hardware failure.
Right, it's more of a local optimization at the access point level.
Perfect. Okay, so we've covered RBAC, high availability. Let's dive into another critical aspect of Aruba networks. Security, specifically their ClearPass Policy Manager. So the question is, which of the following is a feature of Aruba's ClearPass Policy Manager?
Got it.
And our options are A, it enables guest Wi-Fi access without a password.
Okay.
B, it centralizes the management of user authentication, authorization, and accounting, also known as AAA.
Right, AAA.
C, it improves the throughput of wireless devices. And D, it automatically configures network routes for different user groups.
Okay, so we're looking for a specific feature of ClearPass here.
Yeah, something that it's designed to do.
All right.
What do you think?
Well, based on my understanding of ClearPass, it's all about managing who gets onto the network and what they can do once they're there. And that really points to the concept of AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting.
Okay, so you're leaning towards B.
Yes, B seems like the most accurate description of what ClearPass does. It centralizes all the security functions.
And you're absolutely right.
Great.
B is the correct answer.
Right.
It centralizes the management of user authentication, authorization, and accounting, all those AAA functions.
Right.
Now, can you break that down for us a bit? Like, what does each of those components, authentication, authorization, and accounting, actually mean in a practical sense?
Sure. So authentication is all about verifying someone's identity, basically proving they are who they claim to be.
Right, like logging in with a username and password?
Exactly. Or maybe using something more advanced like a digital certificate or even biometrics like a fingerprint scan.
Yeah, okay.
Then you have authorization, which is all about determining what a user is allowed to do once they've been authenticated.
So Can they access certain files? Can they use certain applications? Can they connect to certain parts of the network?
Exactly. It's about setting those boundaries and permissions.
Okay, and then there's accounting.
Right. Accounting is essentially about tracking what users do on the network.
It's like what they access, how long they use it, how much data they transfer, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's all about keeping those logs for security and auditing purposes.
So ClearPass brings all of that together in one platform.
Precisely. Instead of having separate systems for each of those functions, ClearPass integrates them, giving you a much more streamlined and centralized way to manage security.
It sounds like that would make things a lot easier for network admins.
Oh, it definitely does. It simplifies policy enforcement, user management, and just provides a much clearer picture of what's going on from a security standpoint.
It's all right there in one place.
Exactly.
Much more efficient and much more secure.
Absolutely.
Now, why don't we quickly look at why the other options aren't the best fit for ClearPass? Option A, enabling guest Wi-Fi access without a password. That doesn't sound very secure, does it?
No, not at all. While ClearPass is often used to manage guest access, it does so securely.
Right.
Usually through things like captive portals where guests have to agree to terms and conditions or maybe provide some basic information before they can get online.
Okay, so it's not just letting anyone hop on the network willy-nilly.
Definitely not. ClearPass is all about controlled access, even for guests.
Got it. What about option C, improving the throughput of wireless devices?
That's more about the performance of the wireless infrastructure itself.
Right, like how strong the signal is, how the access points are configured.
Exactly. ClearPass is focused on managing access to the network, not the speed of the connection itself.
Okay, makes sense. And then finally, option D, automatically configuring network routes for different user groups.
That's the job of routers and routing protocols.
Yeah, that's more of a fundamental networking function.
Exactly. ClearPass is more about controlling who can get onto those routed networks, not about configuring the routes themselves.
It's like controlling who can enter a building versus designing the floor plan of the building.
Perfect analogy.
All right, great. So we've covered a lot of ground here with Aruba's security features.
We have.
Let's move on to another essential security measure that's used not just by Aruba, but in many network environments. 802.1x authentication.
Okay, 802.1x, yeah, that's a big one.
It is a big one. So the question is, when implementing Aruba's mobility access switches, MAS, in a corporate environment, what benefit does enabling 802.1x authentication provide? And our options are: A, it secures network access by requiring devices to provide valid credentials before gaining access.
Okay.
B, it prevents network traffic from unauthorized VLANs. C, it optimizes the frequency band for wireless access points. And D, it automatically assigns IP addresses to client devices.
So we're specifically talking about 802.1x on Aruba switches here.
Yes, and what key benefit does that provide?
Well, to me, 802.1x is all about making sure that only authorized devices can connect to the network in the first place.
Okay.
So I would say the answer is A.
And you would be absolutely correct.
Right.
It secures network access by requiring devices to provide valid credentials before gaining access.
Makes sense.
So can you elaborate a little on how 802.1x actually works on a switch? Like, how does it actually prevent those unauthorized devices from getting on the network?
Sure. So with 802.1x enabled on a switch port, any device that tries to connect to that port is essentially put on hold.
Okay.
It can't communicate with the rest of the network until it proves its identity.
It's like a bouncer at a club.
Exactly. And the way it proves its identity is by providing valid credentials to an authentication server, which is often ClearPass in an Aruba environment.
So it's like having a digital lock on each port.
Right.
And only devices with the right key, the right credentials, can unlock that port and get on the network.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's like having that extra layer of security at the very point where devices connect.
So 802.1x plays a crucial role in preventing unauthorized access.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental security measure for any network.
Now, option B, preventing traffic from unauthorized VLANs, while 802.1x can be part of a broader VLAN security strategy.
Right.
It's not its primary function, is it?
No, its primary function is that initial authentication, making sure that only authorized devices can even get on the network in the first place.
Right, it's that first line of defense.
Exactly.
And option C and D, optimizing frequency bands and assigning IP addresses.
Those are separate functions handled by other parts of the network infrastructure.
Right, wireless access points and DHCP servers, respectively.
Yeah.
So 802.1x is really laser focused on that initial authentication step.
Absolutely. It's all about verifying identity at the point of entry.
Perfect. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we've been through a lot.
We have one more question to tackle, And this one's about managing network performance, making sure things run smoothly, even when the network is under heavy load.
Okay, performance optimization, that's a good one.
It is a good one, and it's something that any network administrator has to think about.
For sure.
So our final question is, an Aruba network administrator needs to configure traffic shaping to prioritize critical applications over less important traffic. Which Aruba solution can be used to achieve this?
All right, traffic shaping, that's about making sure the important stuff gets through, right?
Exactly. So our options are A, Aruba Airwave,
Okay.
B, Aruba ClearPass,
Hmm.
C, Aruba APRF,
All right.
and D, Aruba Instant Access Points, IAPs.
So we're looking for the Aruba tool that specifically handles traffic shaping.
Yeah, which one can make those fine-grained decisions about which types of traffic get priority on the network?
Right.
What do you think?
Well, from what I know about Aruba's portfolio, the one that really stands out for application level control is APRF.
Okay, APRF. And why do you say that?
Well, APRF is all about understanding and managing the applications running on your network. It can identify thousands of different applications and then allows you to create policies based on that identification.
So you can say, hey, this video conferencing application is super important. Let's make sure it always has enough bandwidth.
Exactly. You can prioritize critical applications like voice and video, making sure they have a smooth and reliable experience, even when the network is busy.
So no more choppy video calls.
Definitely not.
And you can also do the reverse, right? Like throttle back less important traffic if needed.
Absolutely. If you're seeing a lot of, say, file sharing traffic during peak hours, you can limit its bandwidth to make sure the critical apps don't suffer.
So it's all about making sure the network resources are used wisely.
Exactly. It's about optimizing performance and making sure the network meets the needs of the organization.
And APRF is the tool that makes that possible.
That's right.
So C, Aruba APRF, is indeed the correct answer.
Excellent.
And once again, the other options point to different, but still important, parts of the Aruba ecosystem.
Right.
Airwave for overall network management, ClearPass for security and access control, and instant access points for, well, providing wireless access.
Those are all crucial components.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to that fine-grained traffic shaping, APRF is the go-to solution.
It's the specialist for that job.
Exactly. Okay.
And thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
It's been a pleasure.
I've learned a lot.
Me too.
So until next time, keep those practice questions coming.
Absolutely.
We'll be here to help you unpack them.
Always.
See ya.